welcome to another episode of the Digital Tutor Spotlight. The Digital Tutor is the software program that brings the great teachers of the world into your home, church, or Christian school to provide private e-tutoring for your students. Today we have a special treat. We're here in the law offices of Gregory A. Futch to talk with attorney Greg Futch about homeschooling and some of the ways that parents need to protect themselves in our current legal climate. And so, Greg, thank you for inviting us to meet here in your office today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Well, Greg is not only an attorney who has had a lot of experience with working with homeschoolers, but he's also our personal attorney, and we've been very pleased to get to know him.
Thank you.
Well, Greg, you know, I have been involved in a lot of cases over the years in my position helping homeschool families to work with a lot of families who have run into problems with our child protective services. Of course, here in Georgia, that's called DFACS, the Department of Family and Children Services. I've also worked with families in other states, and they have different names, but basically they all are come under the umbrella, I think, of what are called child protective services. And
yes.
We've seen a lot of abuse in this area with families who are targeted for, political reasons, and monetary reasons, things that really have nothing to do with actual child abuse. So, can you talk to us a little bit about what parents in Henry County and the surrounding counties, what they need to think about in terms of protecting themselves and their children from child protective services?
Sure, I will do my best to talk to those issues. Well, Brett, I think that one thing to keep in mind is that an investigation begun by DFACS or Child Protective Services is much like a criminal case. You have certain rights, your children have certain rights, and you need to be aware of what those rights are. You have a right not to incriminate yourself. You have a right not to speak to them prior to an interview. You'd like to have a chance to speak with an attorney, find out what your rights are, and your children have a right to be represented by counsel. And so most parents need to be aware of that fact that when the government comes calling, that it's okay to want to cooperate, but understand what your rights are, because it's much like a criminal investigation. Sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes minds are already made up about what's going on when they come calling. And it's best to understand that you have certain rights. If you do not want to speak to them, you do not have to speak to them. That just because you speak to them and cooperate doesn't necessarily mean the case is going to go away. It may become more complicated. So I think really the best thing that parents can do is know what their rights are and be aware of those rights. As you know, over the course of the last few years, we have seen the pendulum swing from those mandatory reporters using their discretion about what is real abuse, physical, mental, emotional abuse, to where if there's any question in their mind whatsoever, there's going to be a report made now, because there have been cases, as you and I have talked about before, that unfortunately have resulted in children being hurt and have been killed as a result of parental abuse, that the reporters, mandatory reporters at school, didn't report. Here in Henry County is a prime example. A young girl died as a result of abuse at the hands of her father and stepmother a couple of years ago, and that case has been prosecuted here in Henry County successfully by the district attorney's office. But one thing that a lot of people don't realize is many of those mandatory reporters were also prosecuted because they did not come forward. They did not make the call to DFACS, or they did not make the call to their superior. They did not go up that hierarchy in order to report that abuse. Now, that's a tragedy. There's no question about that. However, what that has done now is, I think in the minds of most mandatory reporters, if there's any question about whether it's abuse or not, you're not really going to think about it. You're going to report. So things that might be reported about you and your children might seem to be, to you, the furthest thing from abuse. But it may not be to the person investigating it. So you need to be aware of the fact when they come calling that you need to know what your rights are. You can certainly talk to them if you wish. You can certainly cooperate with them if you wish. But that does not guarantee they're not going to try to remove your children. So that, to me, quite frankly, is the best thing that parents can do, is to be aware of what their rights are.
Okay. So who are these mandatory reporters? Who is required by law to report, something suspicious that they feel might be abuse?
Well, think of it in these terms. It's those people who deal with children really on a day-to-day basis. You've got teachers, counselors at school, you have physicians, nurses, anyone who deals with a child in their profession, as a general rule, may be a mandatory reporter. But it's those who work with children, those in the health field, those in the educational field, and that sort of thing.
So we have seen over the past few months an increase in abuse by Child Protective Services against families who've simply taken their children to the hospital. I know there was a case just this year where a child was taken away from actually I believe it was last year, that child was taken away from a mother because she just simply said, well, I don't want to speak to someone until my husband gets back, because he had left to go and take care of something and come back. And because the nurse that was talking to her got angry with her because she wouldn't cooperate in her mind, right. She actually called CPS, and of course the hospitals traditionally have a veil, but it's my understanding that they were able to penetrate the veil on this, because it was very obvious that the nurse was simply doing this maliciously, contacting yes. CPS. But this sort of thing happens, more and more frequently, and we see parental rights being eroded at the hospitals, and it's a delicate situation, because it almost puts parents in a position where they're afraid to take their children for medical care. What can you recommend to a parent to help them, to help them protect themselves when they go to visit a doctor or a hospital? Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that they can do?
Well, I think first and foremost, be aware of the fact that they are going to be looking for those signs, especially depending on why it is you're taking your child to the hospital. If the child has fallen down and hurt themselves, strained the knee, broke a bone, for goodness sake, something like that, they're obviously going to be looking for other signs of abuse. And so you need to be aware that that's a possibility. So you'll at least be thinking about it in your mind about how you would deal with that. Because if you're not aware, it may be like somebody hitting you upside the head with a 2x4. You're not prepared for it. And depending on how you react, may tell this person who's asking, either it will confirm their suspicions or not. So you just need to be aware of it. I certainly don't advocate don't take your children to the hospital or after-hours care provider. Certainly you need to do that. But just be aware that those things are out there. It's one of those things we really don't think about until we either have it happen to ourselves or have it happen to a friend or family member, or happen to read about it in the newspaper or hear it on the news. But it happens. It happens all the time. It happens every day, not only in this county, but all over this state and this country. And that's not to say that every case that's brought is brought for malicious reasons. But I'll tell you, there are those cases, and you're absolutely right about that, that you have to be aware of. And those people do not have absolute immunity to do these things. And so you just need to be aware of it. And there are repercussions and there are rights that you may have as a parent if those things happen to you.
Well, it goes back to what I encourage parents to do, if at all possible, if you are faced with, with an accusation or something, do whatever you can to try to keep the children out of the hands of the CPS workers, because it's once they get a hold of them, then you're in trouble, because now it's very difficult to get the children back. We've seen this repeatedly. So where are the places, if a CPS agency gets an anonymous report or a malicious caller or something, what are the things where do they usually try to get access to the children?
Well, the easiest place to get access to the children is at school, be it a public school or private school. Public school especially. If they get a report, the first thing they're going to do is to find out what child is involved, where does that child go to school, and then go talk to that child about it. Now, as parents, we have to be aware that those things can happen. And I think it would be important for parents to at least talk to their children, especially as they get older, into 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, to be aware of the fact that if anybody talks to you about what's going on in the house, just be aware of who these people are. Don't say something that's not true, but also be aware of the fact that sometimes people can twist your words, and you just need to be very careful about what you say and how you say it. And I think that's really your first line of defense, actually, because once the child knows that they've been contacted, and you as a parent know, you can certainly stop any other contact from happening. And you can certainly go and seek legal counsel and protection that way. But it's very difficult to stop a child protective services worker from contacting your child at school. And quite frankly, I'm not so sure that we ought to make it that difficult, because there are serious cases that they need to get involved in. But then there are those situations, like you and I know about, that they don't need to be involved in, that they get involved in for one reason or another, and it may be because they've gotten their dander up about something, or they don't like the family for some reason. You just have to be aware of those things, because they do happen, unfortunately. I wish I could say that they don't, but they do.
Yeah. And it's, of course, I, as a homeschool advocate, to me, that's just another great reason to homeschool your children, because then you have you have a whole lot more flexibility in protecting your children from these types of dangers that are out there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
But let's say that a parent has, the contact is made. Mom is, the kids are in the living room, they're doing their schoolwork, and mom's washing dishes, and there's a doorbell rings, and she goes to the door, and there's a CPS agent, a DFAX worker, maybe even they've got a sheriff's deputy with them.
Right.
What does she do?
Well, it really depends on what they're asked, certainly. But if the worker asks, "May we come in and talk to you?" You need to think twice about that. Say, "Well, let me come out and talk to you on the front porch, or let me go out and talk to you, find out what this is about first before you let them into your home." And then once you find out what it's about, then you can make, I think, a better informed decision as to whether you let them into the home to talk to them, or you tell them, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you talk to my children." And of course the threat is always there. It may be verbal, it may not be, that, well, if you don't cooperate with us, we're going to take your child or children. But at the end of the day, they still have to have evidence to take your child or children and to keep them away. And so you have to be prepared to deal with that. And I think it's certainly something that, in your scenario, the wife ought to speak to the husband or father, assuming that he's there or is accessible, And it's something you need to discuss as a family to determine whether you need to seek legal counsel or not. That'd be the first thing I would do. They come knock on my door. They're not coming in my house initially. I'll find out what it's about outside. If they don't want to speak to me that way, then that's fine. Say, well, then you can contact my attorney.
And as you know, just this past year, when we actually had a contact from a child protective worker, and that was indeed, how we were able to head that whole process off was by insisting that if they want to speak to my child, that she has legal representation.
That's right.
And you contacted their attorney, and that was enough to just simply put a stop to it.
That's correct.
And so people need to understand that they do have the right to legal counsel, and please parents, do not let someone in your home without a warrant. This is so important.
Well, that's absolutely right. It's a common example of, well, if I cooperate, it'll all be fine. It's a classic example of a police officer pulls you over, and you may know that you have something in your car that you're not supposed to have. And then when he asks, may I search it? I've had many clients say, well, sure. Like if you cooperate and they find it, they're going to let you go. Well, no, that really doesn't happen. Most of the time, they're going to not only confiscate whatever that is, and probably rightfully so, but they're going to arrest you, and they're going to prosecute you. But you have the right to say no, because if there's probable cause to believe that there's something illegal going on in the car, for example, or in your home, then there are procedures that they can go and get a warrant. And if they don't have the evidence for a warrant, our system says, well, that's just too bad. You can't proceed unless you have any other evidence.
But I've talked, I've helped a lot of families. It's too late. They did let them in, and then, the children are taken, and then there's this long, drawn-out process that's months long to try to get the kids back. And what they inevitably say, particularly the mothers, it seems like, are more easily intimidated, but that they're just afraid not to cooperate. Sometimes these CPS agents will bring a policeman with them, or a sheriff's deputy, and they'll say, we want to talk to the children. And they'll make statements like, well, if you don't cooperate, we're going to take your children. When in reality, they can't come in your house unless they have a warrant signed by a judge, or there's some sort of...
Let me make it clear that it's easy. You can cooperate without doing what they want you to do. Okay? You can be nice about it. Say, well, ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you do that. I'll be happy to cooperate with you, but I'm going to talk to my husband first, or I'm going to talk to my wife first, and I'm going to seek legal counsel first. And if the threat is made, well, we're going to take your children, well, it's almost to the point, well, ma'am, do what you think you have to do, but you're not coming into my house right now, you're not going to talk to my children right now until I have a chance to talk to somebody who knows what my rights are. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. You can be nice about it. It doesn't have to be any contentious back and forth there. They may want to make it that, but you can cooperate without doing what they want. You are cooperating. The system is designed to work that way. Otherwise, we wouldn't have rights. But we do have those rights, and they're there for us to exercise. But you need to remember what they are. You need to know what they are to exercise them. So that's my first advice, would be to recognize that just because somebody's there, a police officer, a child service worker, anyone, for whatever reason, they are an arm of the government. The government does not have a right to come into your home unless, number one, you either invite them in or they have a warrant to come in. And that's our home is our castle. And that's still the case today. And so that's your best line of defense, is to know what your rights are and exercise those rights.
Well, familiarity with our legal system, I think, is something that we need to encourage families to do more, and for homeschoolers, for homeschool students. What are some of the opportunities here in Henry County for homeschool families that want to participate more in the legal system, and particularly to introduce their students and maybe see if their students might want to get involved in the legal profession.
Right. Well, I think the opportunity exists for homeschool students just like it exists for those in the public and private schools. You just have to know where to go to do it. And I know that many homeschoolers and many parents that homeschool get together as groups and do field trips. They do social activities together, and this is a prime example of being able to do that. As you may know, I'm the municipal court judge for the city of McDonough, and it would be great. I'm sure that all of our employees in the city of McDonough, the clerks and all that, would be fine with any group of students that wanted to come and observe court one day. That's a great way to see what goes on in our system, is to just watch. It's actually kind of funny sometimes about what goes on in court and who shows up and what their excuses are and things like that, but it happens, and that's real life. And I know of the judges I know, all of the judges in this county, from Superior Court judges to state court judges to the other city judges, my magistrate court judge friends and juvenile court, are all certainly willing to talk to students and to either go to a school or have them come to their court and talk to them about what they do. And we want people to know about what we do because we take pride in it. I don't know of a lawyer who's gone through what we have to do to become a lawyer that won't defend our system. Our system, though it is imperfect, because we as people are imperfect, is still the best in the world. And I think we, as citizens, need to know what our system is. We've gotten away from that, quite frankly, in our public school system. It's not taught like it used to be. And I think that certainly homeschoolers have an advantage over some of those others that can't necessarily control the curriculum about what our system is about. And every court in our state, except for juvenile court occasionally, is open to the public. From Supreme Court to the Court of Appeals, to the Superior Courts, state courts, city courts, magistrate courts. And it's very eye-opening. It's very, I think, educational. And also, the State Bar of Georgia. We have a State Bar headquarters that we've been in for several years now, and we've got a museum. And I know that those who run the State Bar of Georgia entertain many, many school field trips to the State Bar headquarters. And I've heard nothing but good things about those school trips. So I would encourage any group of homeschool parents and students to contact the bar and to arrange for a field trip. They would love to be able to do that. And as a member of the State Bar of Georgia Board of Governors, I'm well aware of what we have and how proud our employees of the State Bar are of that. And we want to, and I know all of our presidents, from our President Ms. Clark to all of our past presidents, have always been very much a proponent of educating our public, especially our school children, about the system. Because I think you'll read many things in the paper about lawyers are down there with used car salesmen when it comes to, respectable professions and things like that. But I think we've gotten a bad rap over the years because while any group of people are going to have bad apples, so to speak, the vast majority of lawyers I know and judges, we love what we do. We are passionate about what we do because we know our system. We know it's the best in the world, and we want people to know about it. So there are many opportunities for homeschooled students and parents to become a whole lot better acquainted with what we do as attorneys, judges, and that sort of thing. And we welcome the opportunity to do that. And as you can probably tell, as lawyers, we like to talk. And so, we'll be happy to speak to anybody about the system, because you can't do what we do and not love and respect the system that we have.
Well, Greg, tell us about your practice here in Henry County.
Okay. Be happy to. Thank you. Well, I have been a resident of Henry County since 1985. I've been an attorney for 30 years and grew up in DeKalb County, Georgia. Right out of school, I was an assistant district attorney in the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office, and shortly thereafter came to this District Attorney's Office in the old Flint Circuit, which was Henry, Butts, Lamar, and Monroe County. And so for those 30 years I've been in practice, 8 have been as a prosecutor, and the rest has been in private practice. So I have a practice that I often tell people is very much like a lawyer in a John Grisham novel, small town lawyer. I do a lot of criminal defense. I do a lot of family law. I handle civil cases where people are sued or need to sue someone for a remedy. And so I often say that I represent real people with real problems, and that's really what I do. I do a lot of probate work, and like I say, pretty much anybody with a problem with the law, hopefully it's something I can help them with. But it's been interesting, and I'm sure it will continue to be as long as I practice.
Well, Greg, we certainly thank you for the work that you're doing here, particularly for the families that we have worked with that are homeschooling and that you've helped. And so if you need an attorney, and let me tell you, you do need an attorney. I would recommend that you at least give Greg a call and come by sometime and pay him a retainer, something, sit down and let him get to know who you are. The phone number here is very easy to remember. It's 770-507-0077. Very easy to remember. And we heartily recommend that you come and get to know Greg Futch. We believe in your practice here and what you're doing. We thank you for appearing with us today on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Do you have friends in your church, homeschool support group, or civic club who would benefit from learning how to earn income from a home business? Then call Captain Bret to schedule a home business video workshop. This workshop features video instruction from Ray Perry, homeschooling mother of 7 entrepreneurs and the founder of Educating for Success, the online community designed to bring families together with home business. In this workshop, you will hear the amazing story of how Ray's son Drew, at age 17, brought his dad home from his corporate job by developing a real estate portfolio. You will learn the 10 keys to success in becoming an entrepreneurial family. You will learn the 3 types of genius your children may possess and how to leverage that into profitability. You will learn about the 8 different kinds of intelligence, 6 of which are never tested for or developed in the government school system, and how all of them can be used to generate income. You will learn how to build a winning team and take responsibility for the education of your family. And finally, there will be over 2 hours of specific instruction on how to start and run 10 different online businesses, including administrative virtual assistant, search engine optimization expert, social media expert, creating membership websites, website content manager, online bookkeeping, and more. This life-changing workshop will be hosted by Captain Bret and can be scheduled for your church, homeschool support group, or civic club for only $20 per family. Opportunity is knocking. Open the door today by calling the Homeschool Advantage at 678-570-2195.